Welcome to this week's episode of Biz Success in 15, where top experts share hot tips and strategies that you can implement in as little as 15 minutes to build your dream business. And now here's your host, the Visibility Whiz, Cindy J.
Hi, I'm Cindy J, the Visibility Whiz, and welcome to this episode of Biz Success in 15, where top experts share hot tips and strategies that you can implement in 15 minutes or less to build your business. And today I have another special episode for you. It's the best of 2018, part 2. And this is where 7 amazing men are sharing some of their tidbits of wisdom. You'll want to be sure to go back and listen to their complete podcasts. With that, the first up that we have is Jim Palmer. Jim is a serial entrepreneur, marketing expert, and an in-demand small business coach, author of 7 books, including my favorites, Decide and Just Say Yes. I know you also have 2 F words that you use. So what are those and how does it pertain to business?
Yeah, so in my book, Just Say Yes, I wrote about the 2 F words. And if anybody knows me, you know what it's not. But so one of the F words is fear. I mean, and you and I could do a whole call on fear, and we sort of just did that. So let me go to the second F word, which I thought was very important. And I actually had to think about, do I put this in a business book? It's the F word is forgiveness. And we as entrepreneurs, as people, men and women, there are things that we regret in our life. Maybe we regret lost opportunities. We said no to working with a mentor, or we said no to doing something that could have worked because we were scared what our friends, neighbors, spouse, business associates might say. Maybe it costs money, $500 or $5,000, doesn't matter, and you regretted not doing it. When you have regret, when you live in that regretful state, it doesn't allow you to move forward. And a couple of years ago, well, probably 3 years ago now, because I wrote the book 2 years, year and a half, 2 years ago, I was working with 2 clients and very different situations, but both of them were resisting doing something they knew they needed to do. I'm pushing them in that direction, but it's not getting done. One of our calls, I said, what's going on? I mean, we're now 3 months into this. Like we've been talking about it. I'm giving you ideas, suggestions, how to move forward. And it's not says, one of them said, you know what? I just have so much regret that I spent like the last 3 years spinning my wheels. I spent money here, there, and everywhere thinking if I took a course or went to a seminar, did this, that's going to help me. But in reality, I just need to step up to kind of, make it simplified. And I just said, listen, you need to forgive yourself. And I said, I don't mean to be churchy with you, but forgiveness is all about you. It's not about anything else. And when you are holding yourself back, and I actually gave this person a tip that I did learn in church, but I kind of brought it to the business world. I said, what you want to do is write down on a 3x5 card what you regret. This person told me she spent $30,000 in 3 years and I'm no further ahead. And that was kind of holding her back. I said, write that down, whatever it is. And then if you have a fireplace or if you have a barbecue out back or whatever you want to do, this is the physical act of it. You cut it up into a bunch of pieces. You could just dig a little hole in the ground, stick it in and step on it. You can stick it in your barbecue or your fireplace, whatever you want to do. But you dispose of it and you say, I'm done with this. I'm done with this. I forgive myself. I made the best decision I could at the time. It may not have been the right one, but I'm done with it and I'm ready to move forward. And one of the really things that's important, Cindy, is the physical act of doing that, but also saying it out loud. So if you live in like a townhouse, don't let your neighbors be like right next to you on their patio because you want to say it out loud so your voice, your ears hear your voice. Don't just use your internal voice, right? A lot of hands here, but you want to say it out loud and then physically do it. And that will help you to put a stake in the ground and you walk away. From this point forward, we're going to move forward. So that's why I put that in there, the 2 F words, fear and forgiveness.
Next up, we have Mark Porteous. And he's known as the Step Up, Stand Out, and Be Heard mentor. And he's also the founder of Inspired Messenger Network. And I know the Inspired Messengers Network is all about relationships. And So what type of relationships do you think that an entrepreneur needs to build?
There's three different connections that I work with. The first piece you and I talk about all the time, and that's their connection to their inner being.
Mm-hmm.
Don't have that first. The other ones are built on an unstable foundation. So that's the very first piece. And you have a lot of expertise in that area. Then connecting with their purpose and aligning the soul of their purpose with who they are at their core. And then there's the part that we'll really talk about, which is the relationships, the outer relationships. And I see three different types of what I call your divine tribe. For you. And those are your perfect customers, your divine team. That would be your advisors, all of the people who support you. You have a whole team, that it's not just you that makes all this magic happen. Although you're the main person in the team, there's all of those pieces. All of the different supports, even the organizations that you're in. And then your ambassadors, your affiliates. I'm one of your ambassadors. I love to spread the word about your work, and you do the same for me. So those are the three types of business relationships.
Mm-hmm. And our third guest today is Mark Mawini, and he's the founder of Natural Born Coaches, and he has an awesome Facebook group called The Coaching Jungle. So how do you help people deal with these haters?
I share the hate that comes at me. And part of the reason I do that for a couple of reasons. It relieves some stress for me because I get to mock people who've taken time out of their day to send hate towards me, or throw shade, as the cool people say. I'm not a cool kid, but
I think you're a cool kid.
Thank you. So I have one of a couple responses when I deal with haters. First of all, there's a good chance I'll ignore them because they're not really worth the time. Usually haters are people who aren't doing anything, and frankly, they're nuts. Most of them are nuts. So I'll either ignore them or I will mock them. And the reason I do that, besides releasing some tension on my end, is it helps the coaches who are following me. If I have fun with it and I share a screenshot of someone calling me a complete idiot and a waste of skin and air, then it shows that it's not the end of the world when you get these inevitable critics come out. I've actually had coaches say to me, "Thank you, Mark, for sharing that," because I had a good laugh with it. I see that it's not the end of the world and life went on for you. So there's been some people that I follow when I was first getting started that did that. And at first I thought, oh, that's an interesting strategy. And I gave it a try and I actually enjoyed it. So if someone's going to take time out of their day to mock me or criticize or throw hate this way, then I'm going to turn it into a business lesson for the coaches that I'm dealing with. But I also use it to sell stuff. If I get hate, often that turns into an email that I send out to my list. Here's an email that I got today, and then I turn into a business lesson and a call to action. So as Ben Settle says, haters and critics are actually, what does he call them? Your unpaid marketing interns. He says he wishes that he got more hate because it's great content ideas and stuff. If you know what to do with it, you can take all that negative energy, actually turn it into money in your bank account.
Next is Ricky Eschetti. I had so much fun with Ricky, and he was so very vulnerable, sharing how he went from depression to building a successful business within a 2-year period. So you'll definitely want to go back and listen to his whole interview. And he's known as the Daddy Blogger, and he's the host of the Digital Nomad Mastery podcast. He's running his business right now as he's traveling the world with his family. How do you're traveling the world with your family and you're running a business. So how do you manage to stay consistent while keeping your sanity?
That's another great question. You are full of amazing questions, Cindy J. So in terms of keeping my sanity, I don't always. They say, here's the crazy ones, the misfits, the people who don't belong because the world belongs to them. Something like that Steve Jobs said, right? So the really crazy ones are the ones that really make a big dent in this universe, right? They choose to be different and unique and not live according to the norms of society. So in terms of your kind of more practical question about discipline and productivity on the road, it's a good question. So some of the strategies I use are prioritization, right? So making priorities. So I happen to be a Christian, so faith is number one, family is number two, finances and fun and focus. And I have these like 5 F's, and I use that as my foundational pillars for my life, for my business, for my family. I'm always measuring that. Am I focused too much on my finances? Well, then my priorities aren't aligned, right? I got to make sure faith and family come over finances. So making sure my priorities are intact, not only in speech, but also in my calendar.
Next up, we have Ken Course. He's the founder of Explore Momentum in On-Course Marketing. He is so full of wisdom. I love listening to him speak, and he has shared the stage with some speaking greats, such as Mark Victor Hansen and Les Brown.
So let me talk about content here for a minute, because one of the big things that differentiates businesses these days is their ability to consistently produce and share content. So the reality is, instead of focusing on how you can create 7 different things for all of those things we talked about, what I would advise you to do is this simple system to make sure that you're repurposing and leveraging. I want you to go to your core piece of content, and I want you to say, all right, if I were to pull this piece out, or if I were to talk more about this particular piece that's going on, this chapter of the book, or this aspect of my live event, and I was to speak on it further, what would I talk about? Or how would I reinforce that? Or how would I go back to the core concepts that I have in my core offer? And the idea being that you want to start repurposing that content. There are so many ways that you can repurpose those things. So for example, if you take a video of some kind, like let's say you do a Facebook Live of, about a chapter in your book. If you take the audio out of that video, now you have both a video to share and an audio to share. If you take that audio and you get it transcribed, I use something like rev.com, which is rev.com, which costs you like $1 a minute for transcription, or you can transcribe it yourself if you've got the time. Now I've got articles that I can use. And the average person speaks about 100 to 150 words a minute. Me, because I'm crazy, I speak like 300 words a minute. But the average person speaks about 100 to 150 words a minute. And for your blog post, for the most part, you're going to be targeting 500 to 1,500 words-ish in there. It shouldn't be much longer than that. And so for most of you, that's 5 minutes of talking. That's 5 minutes of video. So if you were to invest 15 minutes each day into creating some content, I would highly recommend it's video if you can do that. If it's not your best, don't worry about it. But if you can, then you are able to easily repurpose that. 15 minutes of your time in video could be one video, one audio, or many audios. It can be transcribed, and that could be 2 or 3 different blogs for you. You can take quotes from those transcripts and make those image things that everyone loves so much with something like Canva to share that. So 15 minutes of your time can become 10 to 15 different pieces of content that you can share over and over and over again.
Our next guest is Lou Bortone, and he's known as the video godfather. Absolutely love Lou. He is so full of knowledge. If you want any sort of YouTube presence, you need to check Lou out, because he's truly the expert at how to set up a thriving YouTube channel. I've learned so much from him over the past year, and I'm so excited to get my own YouTube channel up and thriving in 2019. So I know that you say that every, blogger, entrepreneur should have 5 main videos. Can you quickly share what those 5 videos are?
Yeah, if I can remember them. Homepage video on your website homepage, an About Me video, which can be on your About page, and that can sort of be a longer version of your homepage video. Facebook Live is another type or kind of video you want to have. A YouTube tips series, so that you've got a presence on YouTube. And the last one is video email, which I've gotten really enamored with lately.
Mm-hmm. With a video email, do you actually embed the whole video in the email? And does that go into spam more, if the spam folders more?
You can. It depends. If you do it on Gmail and you attach a video, it'll go right into the video. I'm writing to the email. But lately I've been using software called Loom at useloom.com. And that just sort of puts you, you can open up a web page and then you show up in this little bubble and kind of do your quick little video email that way. So I've been using that quite a bit. And then you can send that, as a regular Gmail and people will see the video.
Oh, okay. And that's LOOM, Loom?
Yeah, it's useloom.com. And what I've been finding is that when I use that video email, it doesn't have to be Loom, but that's the way I do it. It's a really great way to connect and build know, like, and trust and really get people's attention. I mean, we all get thousands of emails and just tons of regular emails, but we don't get as many video emails. So what I'm finding is that really gets people's attention. If people are hard to reach, sometimes if I'm prospecting or trying to reach a new client, just a couple weeks ago, I did one for a guy that I've been trying to reach for months. And he's like, oh, I got your video email. That was really cool. And he responded to it. So I would say a really good business building strategy that's sort of low hanging fruit is to do those video emails as a way to do direct outreach.
Last but definitely not least is Justin Livingston, and he's the CEO and co-founder of Lucrative Luminary Training, a company that specializes in helping hundreds and hundreds of workshops, retreats, and seminar leaders. Justin is the coach to some of the top coaches out there.
And I say, hey, the click-through rates of our emails are, down to 8%. I think they should be at 11%. And then we'll put a project together to get that number back up.
That sounds so much easier than trying to track everything at once. And that's what, anytime I've looked at it, it's like just this big blur, basically.
Yeah,
I know how to track, I know how to check my numbers, but I love that second aspect of choose one of them to improve, because in my head I'm thinking I have to improve all of them all at once.
Exactly. And when you only improve one, so the thing is, it's really important that people understand what it means to have a relative increase of a ratio. So let's say you have your click-through rates of your emails are 10%, let's say, just to round it off. And then we put an initiative together and we get that up from 10% up to 12%. Okay, so how much of an increase is that? From 2%. 10 to 12. People think it's 2%, but it's not. It's 20%. It's because 12 is 20% higher than 10 relative. Yeah. So what that means is if the rest of the data of the campaign remains consistent, you're actually going to make 20% more money.
So I hope you enjoyed a part 2 of the best of 2018. Next week starts 2019 with another top expert, so you'll want to be sure to tune in. I hope you have a very happy holiday season and get ready to make 2019 rock. Big hugs, and we'll see you later. Bye-bye.
You've been listening to Biz Success in 15. For all links mentioned in today's show and to watch or listen to previous episodes, visit bizsuccessin15.com. Thanks so much for listening, and be sure to tune in next week for another amazing guest.